Gerald and Rita, thanks so much for being willing to be interviewed for Voices of Community, Erath County Oral History Project. I want to start by asking each of you to introduce yourselves and to tell us a little bit about where you grew up.
Okay.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Well, I was born here in Stephenville, and it's always been my home base. My dad was in construction, and so we moved around quite a bit, about every 2 years or so. But I went to school here in elementary, then I came back and I spent all of my high school years here in Stephenville.
Okay. Gerald?
Well, I'm also from Erath County. I went to school in Dublin. My family had a farm about 7 miles southeast of Dublin, and so I grew up on a farm and went to Dublin schools from first grade. They didn't have kindergarten. First grade through all the way through till I graduated, and then came to Tarleton and everything. So my family has been a part of the Erath County for probably 100 and some odd years, 130 years maybe, or something like that, and everything. Not as long as Rita's.
I have about 6 generations that have lived here, so
Yeah.
a long time. The Berry Cottage that you see on the Historic Museum, my great-grandfather actually lived there. So I have a lot of history in the area as well.
Yeah.
Did either of y'all move ever out of Erath County, or?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
You mean as we were kids or as
Sure,
adults?
as you were kids or as adults?
Well,
Well, I did because my dad moved around. So I lived in Abilene and Beaumont and Houston and Fort Worth. But we always seemed to end up back here anytime there was an issue or a concern, and then in high school. And then, of course, as adults, we moved out.
yeah. My family did not move. I mean, we were here the whole time, and as a matter of fact, and all the way through college. And then Rita and I got married while we were students at Tarleton, and we were here for another 9 years or so after we got out of school and got our degrees, and then we left. And we ended up going to Abilene. The jobs carried us to these places. Abilene, Kansas, Kentucky, so and then back here.
And what were your primary careers?
Okay. Mine was in the economic development business. I started off as the president of the Chamber of Commerce here, fresh out of college. Didn't know a thing about a Chamber of Commerce, nothing. Thank goodness they were willing to send me to school, and so I learned. And that got me into the economic development business with the chamber, and then I got hired away to Abilene, recruited to head up their economic development foundation in Abilene, and then from there, after about 4 years, then we had the opportunity to go to Kansas and Salina, Kansas, and I headed up the Chamber and Economic Development program there for 22 years. Retired, and got recruited to go to Kentucky and did the same thing in Western Kentucky and everything.
Yeah.
Rita had a different stream of than I.
Yeah, I change jobs all the time. I like doing different things. And so I started out as a resource teacher, actually over in Dublin, and decided I wanted to be a speech pathologist, which I went to school to become a speech pathologist. And I came here to Stephenville and got in the system. It took me like 3 or 4 years, and the year after I got in, Gerald decided he wanted to run off to Abilene. So then I moved to Abilene, and I taught out there for a while, and I was a speech pathologist there for a while, but then I became an early childhood consultant, and so I helped like 3 or 4 districts set up their early childhood programs, and I was doing that when Gerald moved to Kansas. He went up there about, 9 months before me.
About that.
And I went up there and I started back in the classroom, but decided that, it's interesting in Texas, I could change from position to position without having to be certified always. In Kansas, you had to be certified to do those kinds of things. And so while I was I became a teacher, but then I became a speech pathologist again and worked on my doctorate. And when I finished my doctorate at K-State, I headed up a special grant program for at-risk youth. And I did that for a while, for 3 years. And you know how grants are for 3 years. And then they were starting an education service agency, and I applied for that, and I got that, and we started with about 12 districts, and when I left, we had over 60 school districts that were members. So I did that for 20 years, and we grew. We did all kinds of things. We did volume purchasing, we ran high schools, we had consultants. And so when Gerald retired and then he went to Kentucky, I finally decided I was ready to do something different. And so I retired from there and I moved to Kentucky and took a superintendent's position there. So I did that for 4 years and then retired. And although we said we were never going to come back to Stephenville, this is where we headed.
Here we are.
And what year did you come back to Erath County?
Rita came in 2014 and
Yeah.
I came in 2015.
Okay, yeah.
And everything. We found the house in 2014 and bought it. And I stayed on because in order to finish up some of the work that
Well, he probably
we were
would have
doing.
kept working.
I probably would have.
But his wife said, I was driving back and forth 2 weeks here, 2 weeks in Kentucky, and
She said,
nah.
I'm not doing this anymore. You've got to retire. So I retired for the second time.
What was it that brought you to Stephenville? Was it work again?
It was, we had good friends in real estate, and we were trying to decide where we wanted to retire, and it was gorgeous where we lived. It was beautiful. But
You
my
ever been to
friend
Kentucky?
said, we were thinking about Tennessee, Knoxville, and my friend said, people go to these gorgeous places and they build homes and they get there and they don't know a soul. And he said, when I moved back home, if I wanted something from the feed store, I could go down and say, put it on my bill, and they'd say, sure, because they knew who you were. And so we decided when we came back here and found this house that's what we would do. Plus my dad was getting older, and we just decided it'd be best to come back where we knew people. And when we did, when we moved into this house, we probably knew 3 or 4 people in the neighborhood already.
Oh,
So
yeah.
because we'd gone to school here, and a lot of people in Stephenville never move. So we knew a lot of people from when we were in high school.
That's right.
And from
and
previous
oddly
jobs.
enough, some of them live right here in our neighborhood.
They do, they do. People we did business with.
People we did business with, people we were partners in business
Yeah.
with, and
So,
and people that I went to high school with, and you did, and so
so
they were right here.
Sure. Can you tell us about how y'all met?
Oh, yeah. One of the things that kids did when we were growing up, and this is when we were in high school.
in the 60s.
Yeah. We didn't have a lot of activities out there. There were no
Schools didn't
cell
offer
phones.
as much.
Schools didn't offer as much, and I mean now you have every kind of sport you can imagine and stuff like that. Well, we didn't have quite that. It wasn't that extensive, but we had dances, and the Beatles were going strong, and Three Dog Night, and all the
All these
other
different
rock bands
bands.
and all that kind. And there were a lot of local rock bands, live music type thing. And so every Friday and Saturday, there was a dance somewhere. We had dances once a week down at the rec hall in Stephenville.
Yeah.
Then there
That's
might be
actually where we met, was at the rec hall.
yeah, and there were dances down in Hyco, in
Yeah.
the little Quonset hut. There were dances in Comanche. There were
In Hamilton.
In Hamilton, yeah. Anyway, so all the kids knew where the dances were going to be
And we both
who was
liked
going
to
to play.
dance.
And we always liked to dance, and so we met at a dance. You know,
So
Rita was like junior in high school.
I was.
I was a senior in high school.
What do you most remember about the early days of your relationship?
Oh goodness.
Well,
You take a stab at it first.
well, I think that he lived in Dublin and I lived here. So we saw each other on the weekends. We pretty much spent a lot of time with each other on the weekends. We got in the car, and what kids did then is we drove up and down the drag and we saw each other. And so it's interesting because back then students did kind of couple off. Nowadays they tend to run in groups and don't do that as much. So I just remember that we went to a lot of dances. It's interesting because I lived with my grandmother when I was a senior, and Gerald would come over to stay at the house and see us. And my grandmother just loved him. And so one night when it was really late, like 1 or 2 in the morning, because we'd sit up and talk, my grandmother didn't care. Well, it got to be so late that I said, I don't want you driving home, because he wouldn't tend to go to sleep when he was driving at night. So I said, call your parents. So he called home, and he called his dad to tell him he was going to, he just called him and said, Dad, I'm going to stay the night over here at Rita. Well, we had party lines back then.
Click, 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 click. Everybody, when you get something, somebody calls somebody at 1 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
everybody on that party line, and there were like 8 people on the party line, everybody on the party line said, oh my gosh, there must be an emergency somewhere.
Yeah.
So everybody's picking up and listening. And all I'm saying is, I'm going to stay over at Rita's place.
And what did your dad say the next morning?
He said, well, I went home the next morning and he said, just stay, just don't call.
Because they didn't say Rita's grandmother's. He said at Rita's.
I said at Rita's.
So I just remember that we tried to squeeze out as much time together as we could.
We really did, and we would.
Because you didn't travel that 12 miles except on the weekends.
That's right. That's right, and it was rare. I mean, you didn't go to Dallas Fort Worth or anything like that all that often. It was kind of rare. There was one incident that we had, I guess, and there were about 4 or 5 couples of us. We coupled off, and we all went to a television studio where they had a
dance
like
show.
a dance show, like American Bandstand, only it was called something else.
That's right.
And it was over in Dallas, and it was at North Park Shopping Center North Park Shopping Center.
And he's not telling you we went on a school day.
Yeah,
We went on a school day.
we all hookied. We went out
School day.
on a school day, and so we could be there for the deal. And it started at what, 4 or 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
4 o'clock in the afternoon,
Yeah.
and everything. Well, we all got there, welcomed in, and had our badges on, and then they interviewed us and all that kind of stuff, and
Well, they showcased different dancers,
Yeah.
and Gerald and I got showcased.
Yeah, we did.
So they interviewed us.
They did, and then they also, the rest of our group was around us and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and everything, and well, every kid in Stephenville was watching, because that's what they did.
And so
everybody watched something else.
And so was Coach Kitchens
Yes,
at the high school.
yeah,
He was the vice principal.
vice principal.
So
And so the next day, we got back late. Anyway, the next day they went to school, and they all got suspended. I went to school and they said, "Wow, is that great?"
well, I didn't get suspended. I didn't get suspended.
Yeah, well, some of your people.
The guys did. The
The
girls
guys
did.
The girls
Which
didn't.
was silly, but yeah. So
And so I went to Dublin. The only thing I got fussed about was You were at Stephenville. I mean, you didn't even talk about Dublin at all. So anyway, we had a good time.
Yeah, Gerald
And
was
we
like
remember
student
it.
body president, so he was, and I was like, eh.
Oh, not really.
I was.
What kind of jobs were y'all doing back then? So your students, did you have jobs while you were in college, or was it strictly school?
No, we got married, like I said, when I was a sophomore. Rita was a freshman, and I grew up on a farm. You know, even before that, before we got married, we had to work on the farm.
'Cause I lived with my grandmother. I had to.
Yeah, and Rita worked. She worked at the Chevrolet house.
I did. I did.
Here, a Chevrolet dealer. Jones
Reese Jones.
Chevrolet.
Reese Jones. That's.
It's right. It's right down. Well.
It's
you
down
wouldn't
where
know
Castles used
down
to
there.
be downtown. It was a downtown
down
place.
that area. Anyway,
Yeah.
After we got married, well, I continued farming, and that's how we paid for our way through school.
I got a scholarship I won Lions Club Queen, so I got a scholarship
Yeah.
for that, and that helped to pay my first year. But I had to take out loans, and I took out loans, and they said, well, if you'll take this one and become a teacher, then you won't have to pay it back. And I said, nah, I'm never becoming a teacher. So, and it took us like 10 years to pay that loan back.
About that.
Yeah.
And everything. But anyway, we farm peanuts for a living. Peanuts. That's this whole part of the country was. As a matter of fact, where this house sits right now, this was a peanut field at one time. And sandy soil and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, peanuts were a big business back then, and so we farmed peanuts. And Rita and I had our own. We leased a place, a farm, and had about 50 acres of peanuts, and and we farmed that 50 acres, and
I was a city girl, so that was not
yeah.
a great thing. We lived out in the country, so.
Anyway, it paid for our way through school, which is good.
Wow.
So we ended up, other than Rita's student loan that she got, we ended up ended up
Doing okay.
kind of debt free. Broke is everything, but
Yeah.
you know.
So the dance halls were important on the weekends. What were some local hangouts back then, other than the dance halls? Were there local hangouts?
Dairy Queen
yeah.
1, Dairy Queen 2.
Well, and Jake's and Dorothy's.
Jake and Dorothy's was Jake and Dorothy's was, you go on a date, and a lot of guys, you go on a date on Friday or Saturday night, and Jake and Dorothy's was open until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning most of the time. They aren't anymore, but they were then. And there would be, you'd drop your date off, and there'd be 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 guys that'd meet at Jake and Dorothy's and at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and you would have coffee or have a burger or something like that, and then going home.
Also, there were drugstores downtown that had counters, and you would meet up down there, and there was a drive-in movie and there was a downtown movie, and a lot of times they would have like midnight movies, and so all the kids would go to midnight movies, and the whole theater would be full, or they would all go out to the drive-in. It was funny. One time when we were going to the drive-in, Jack Arthur was the mayor, and
he owned the drive-in.
I knew him from Lions Club, because one of the things I got to do was go and eat lunch with them every week. And I really liked to do that, so they enjoyed me coming. And I will never forget, we were going up to see this movie, and we pulled up, and Jack Arthur looked over at Gerald and he said, "Do you really think you should be taking her to this kind of movie?" So, so those are the kinds of things
Yeah, that's right.
that we did.
We did, and people go. I mean, a lot of times on the weekends or something like that, you'd go to the lake,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff, or you'd go swimming down at the park because we had a swimming pool down there, and not the one that's there now, but you know, another one, and you do that. Or you'd go to some other town, and or you go to Proctor Lake. It was a big thing back then. And so a lot of people had boats and things like that. We didn't, but we'd
Yeah.
go over there and you'd picnic out and go swimming out there in the lake and everything like that. So we did
Yeah.
things like that a
What
lot.
about, what about community traditions? What kind of community traditions were in Stephenville, Erath County, back when y'all were a young couple?
Well,
Um,
they had, back then they still had rodeo, although we were not a part of the rodeo
Scene.
crowd.
Well, and I know it's different now, but back then there were only a few people that wore boots and jeans.
I know, it
Most of
was-
the time, I mean, you think about this. This is the late '60s, early '70s. Guys wore bell-bottom hip hugger pants, and girls did too, and everything like that. It was very much like you see a throwback in the '60s and on TV, and it wasn't country and western music. It was all rock and
Yeah, it was.
everything. I mean,
But there were,
you know, that's the way we did.
back then there were a lot of clubs that were big. Lions Club was big. Rotary was big.
Yeah.
There were some different women's groups that you could get involved in. Every year there was a big festival on the 4th of July down at the park.
It was
And-
called Family Fun Fair.
And a lot of people
Okay.
would do those kinds of things.
We did, and everybody in the community kind of got involved. Now, understand, the community was a lot smaller then.
Yeah.
I mean, we were only about 9,000 people or something like that total.
Tarleton
that's-
was 2,300 when we went there. So
Yeah, I mean,
different-
that's
different
pretty
world.
small. And,
Different world.
and so all the clubs, and there were lots of clubs. I mean, you hear of Lions, Rotary, Kiwanis, but there was Zonta, and there were, you know,
Yeah, there were a lot of Beta Sigma
Business.
Phi, a lot of
Oh, yeah.
young homemakers, a lot of different clubs.
yeah, and they all participated in things like that.
And Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. And baseball was always really big here.
Baseball's
It's been here.
always been big here,
So,
just like it is now. And I mean, we had 55 teams here over the weekend. 55 from out of town, most of them. It's good money back. Anyway, so there were activities like that. They tended to be outside activities. They tended to be stuff like that. You know, and so you were either doing that, or you were with your family typically.
a lot of family things,
A lot
church
of family
things,
stuff, a
family
lot of church
things.
stuff.
Yeah, a lot of church.
You know.
And where did y'all go to church?
Well, when?
Well, in
We-
the 60s and the 70s?
First
y'all-
Christian is where we were married. We were married in the First Christian Church, but
Here, it's already, Jimmy's still there.
we spent most of our time in the First Methodist Church in our early years, wouldn't
Yeah,
you say?
that's true. We did.
So,
Hey, in fact, our daughter went to school at Stepping Stones. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but Stepping Stone School. Our son was too young. He was
Yeah.
just a baby
when we
at
were
that time. And but Stepping Stones was part of the Methodist Church, you know, at the time. So yeah, we did that. My family were Methodist. Rita's family was Church of Christ mostly, and
my family really didn't go to church that much.
Yeah.
Gerald's family were like, they started their church, you know, and they were there every time the door was open, but they were more of a congregational Methodist, a little more charismatic probably.
probably, yeah. Yeah,
Well, let's shift to family and talk about, you mentioned you have a daughter and a son,
we do.
so 2 children. When did y'all have your kids? When were they born?
They were both born here.
Well, they were both born in Fort Worth. We
Well,
lived
yeah,
here.
We lived here. They were born in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
At Harris Hospital, as a matter of fact. And that last, well, Rob was just an infant when we left here.
No, Katie was,
Kate was
she was in the 3rd grade when we moved, and Rob was in
kindergarten.
when we moved from here. So they spent their early years.
And since we both worked, we always had somebody taking care of them.
So, yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the way people did.
So,
Pay wasn't all that great on anything you did and everything. And it was, well, when we first got out of college, it was kind of tight, you know. It wasn't kind of, it was tight.
yeah.
One of the stories that I tell, and Rita, when I got the job at the chamber here, I didn't know anything about it, but Dr. Joe Autry, who was vice president at Tarleton, was the chairman of the chamber and headed up the search committee and whatnot. We had just come back because we had been looking for jobs. You know, we grew up in the deal where you graduate from college and then you go get a good job somewhere.
And we graduated in December because I graduated in 3.5 years and he graduated in 4.5 years.
Yeah, so we evened out there,
Yeah.
you know. But we were looking everywhere. We'd gone to West Texas, we'd gone to San Antonio, we'd gone to Dallas multiple times, Fort Worth, whatnot, looking for work. Well, I was a government and history major. And that qualifies you for government and history.
Yeah.
Rita was an English and speech major. Okay, if you're not teaching, neither one of us were really qualified for very much. But anyway, a guy down at the post office, we went down there, we both went down to sign up for civil service. We thought we might go to some exotic place.
Like Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Thought that would be exotic.
Or Kentucky. We
Yeah,
even
or
thought
Kentucky.
of
We thought
Kentucky,
about
West
Kentucky.
Virginia. I mean,
Yeah, we're
these were
thinking
all
exotic
foreign
places.
And so we both scored pretty well, but back then everybody was coming out of Vietnam. So you didn't have a chance getting a civil service. Well, the guy said,
Go ahead. Tell 'em.
okay, the guy said, you ought to go down there and apply at the chamber. I said, what's a chamber? So I did. Make a long story short, we'd gone everywhere. We came back home to wash clothes and everything. We were going to the laundromat to wash some clothes, and we were loading up and everything because we were leaving out. We had about, what would you say, about $300 left maybe from the last crop, you know? And we were getting along to the time that I was going to have to start planting crop again, you know, getting the land ready. And I got a telephone call. And it was from Dr. Joe Autry, and he said, we'd like for you to come for an interview. He said, we've been trying to reach you. Well, you know, no cell phones or anything like that. And we'd been gone for the last week. So anyway, I said, when? He said, in the morning at 7:30. So I went. And I said, I don't know very much about this, but I had done a little background work on it before, you know, thinking I was just going to walk in there and get it, you know. They were interviewing a lot of people that day. I was the first. And he said, they said after we got through, he said, is there anything you'd like to say? And I said, yes, sir, there is. I said, I know you're interviewing a lot of other people today. I said, I just want you to know I'll take less than anybody else you got applying for this job. And that's what I got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, it was a great run, though. It was super run and everything, so.
It was.
I'll get off my story.
That's okay.
What kind of things did you do with the kids as they were growing up here? Well, you were also gone.
Yeah.
Right? Not in Stephenville, but when y'all moved back, were the kids grown, or
The kids were grown when we
They were
moved back,
grown.
but when we were here, they were involved in dancing, they were involved in Bible school, they were
Piano
involved
lessons,
in
music lessons,
music lessons, baseball, those kinds of
typical things that
Girl Scouts.
Kids. Oh.
I was Girl Scout leader, and so
yeah,
Kate was in Girl Scouts.
she was.
so-
Rob,
Rob was little,
he was little. He
was little,
being
so-
Cub Scouts at the time. So
so
anyway, and then when we went to Abilene,
same
well, of
sort
course,
of thing.
same thing.
Same sort of
They
thing.
were both in basketball. They were both in soccer. They were both,
Yeah.
active and stuff
Yeah.
everywhere. So, and
And actually, Katie, when I was at Chamberlain's, when Katie went there, so I was at the
Yeah.
school when she was there. So
yeah, that's
y'all,
true.
y'all have any family traditions that you think are pretty unique to the Cooks?
unique to the Cooks. What would you say?
Oh, unique to us. Oh my.
Well, yeah. We always call each other and we sing happy birthday to whoever it is. That's
No
one
matter
no matter how
in-laws,
old or-
outlaws, whatever.
Well, yeah, everybody sings. And then at Christmas, we have this thing about, from the time our kids were little, we wouldn't let them come out to see their presents until Andy Williams sang this special song. And so they always say it's not Christmas till Andy sings.
And they still
so-
do that to this day.
Yeah, to this day, they do that. So I guess that's,
Yeah, it's not Christmas till Andy sings.
I guess that's
Gosh,
That's
That's true.
probably it. That's probably it.
Andy-
Everything else is pretty much typically what other people do.
yeah, I'd say so too.
Yeah.
And everything. Our kids, however, as they were growing up, because of what we did for a living, and how we interacted with things, they grew up as a little more cognizant of things that were going on in the community.
Yeah, because we were involved in
We were
in
involved in stuff, and so
the business kinds of things you hear in the community, so they were more involved in those kinds of things.
yeah, they were more involved in that. They were more involved in
Yeah, I would say that.
the knowledge base. I mean, we talked about issues,
Current issues and things like that.
and when we'd sit at the table or something like that, we'd be talking about issues. We'd be talking about things happening in the community or in a state or
Yeah.
nation and stuff. So they grew up in that kind of environment.
Sure. Well, how did that, that leads into this question here of like what lessons or values did you pass on to them? Because you're talking about them being involved in community issues because y'all were involved in the community. So
Yeah.
what would you say, maybe a major event that brought conversation at the table?
I really think it was one of the things that we imparted to them, I believe, was the need to be of service, to be a part, to take, don't just let life drift you by, or you just drift through life. Be an active and participant in it, I think.
Well, plus, we raised both of our kids to be independent thinkers.
Oh yeah, very
We thought that
independent.
was real
Very
important, and that
independent thinkers.
so we had discussions about things rather than just saying, "Well, that's because I said so." Now, sometimes it would have been a heck of a lot easier
Just to
have
say.
just said, "I said so." So they're both pretty independent
Very independent.
people now. Our daughter's on the city council where she lives, and she's running for state representative. So, and
Yeah, our son is doing well in business and
so,
everything, and
but they both stay current.
They stay
Even now,
current.
they're both that's something that interests them, and they stay involved with those kinds of things.
they
so.
do. Yeah.
What moments do you think stick out the most? That could be when you came back to Stephenville. I know that we talked about something off camera when we met for the first time, but what sticks out the most in terms of the things that you've done here in the community?
I mean, From the time we were first here until
Sure.
now and
It
all
could
that
be,
kind of
or
stuff.
it could be when you came back, business related, community related.
Well, because it was work related for me. It was being involved in some of the development that has occurred in Stephenville. While I was here the first time, we had I mentioned economic development. I'm a certified economic developer too. I mean, I went through school and all that stuff for that. And I worked to get companies to locate here, which was investment and jobs and everything. Some of the ones that are kind of shining stars here in the community are ones that I recruited here, that I worked with to get them here. FMC is one of them, Technip FMC. St. Gobain's used to be Norton Company. Emerson Electric Company.
Yeah.
Those are all Fortune 500 companies. There's 3 of them. And we located all 3 of them here within a short period of time, 2.5 years. Chaparral Forging, L&L Manufacturing, it goes on. There were a bunch of them and everything.
But
And that created, and we didn't really have very much manufacturing at all in this community before that. That created jobs.
yeah,
It affected the lives of a lot of people. A lot of people. I mean, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of people. Maybe thousands of people now.
That's right.
Over this period of time that had a better quality of life, made better money, better living, were able to take care of their kids. We know people that got jobs at FMC, for instance, which is a big machining operation, as you know. But their kids also got jobs there. I mean, they're just fresh out of, while they were in college, and FMC paid for their college tuition for them to go to school, even though they didn't end up working for FMC. Those are the kind of things where you, in a community, where you have affected a lot of people. Now they'll never know it, you know, but you have created a positive impact on people that they wouldn't have had before.
and it's kind of nice to come back after being gone, because we were here at the inception of it, to come back
And see what
and
it's
see
happened.
how different it is. And I will say, coming back, there are things that we have really noticed, like when we lived here before, the social clubs, Lions, Rotary, those were big deals. A lot of people belong to those. They're very small numbers of people. It's like a generational thing.
Yeah.
Most of the people that are in it are older people, and they're not the
You don't
younger
have as many
people.
joiners.
And we've also noticed that it's interesting. There's still it seems like there's a group of people that have been here forever and families that have been here forever, but there's a lot of new people. And coming back, we're thrilled about Tarleton growing and being big, and we go to all the things. So it's always unsettling to us when we hear people say, oh, Tarleton's bad for this or Tarleton's bad for that, because we see the good things that Tarleton has brought to our community.
That's right. We
So,
do.
so that, I guess that would stand out to us the most.
You know, that was one of the reasons we came. You know, frankly, we put down a list of what were we looking for in a retirement place
Yeah.
long time ago. One of them was university that was active,
Yeah.
that was doing good things, that had activities to go to and things like that. Proximity to a major metro area, you know, and all
Well,
that. These were all things that we had on our list. And Tarleton fit the bill by then.
Well, and plus now, when we lived here before, going to Fort Worth was a big deal. Now people go to Fort Worth for lunch or for whatever, you
Yeah.
know. It's just a different, I think it's a different environment.
It is.
A different generational thing, I think. And so,
I mean, it's great to see some of the people that, were nobody had heard of back when we were here first.
yeah.
That have moved in and everything and become ingrained in the community, and they're doing some things
It's exciting.
that are really positive
So it's
in the
exciting to
community.
see that.
And
And we like
that's
that.
great. That's what we hoped we were coming to, and that's what we hoped would happen here in this community.
Well, you've remained very active in the community. School board, city council. Talk about why you do that.
Well, a couple of reasons. One is a personal reason, because I think that as you get older, if you go home and you sit and you watch TV all the time and never get out of your chair, there's not much quality of life for you. But the second thing is that Gerald and I have a really difficult time because we tend to get invested in things. And so we go along and we see things and we want to make a difference and we want the community to be good and we want people to serve that have the best interest, of the community. And so when we came here first, we said, okay, well, we're going to volunteer for things, but we're not going to get as invested as we have in the past. But it's just our nature. We can't.
Out the window.
We can't change it. And I thought I would not do the school board when I moved here because I was retiring as a superintendent, and there's nothing worse than a superintendent getting on a school board and telling the current superintendent, well, you should be doing it this way. So I didn't for a long time, but then I just, I worked with foster kids. I was involved in some other organizations, but I just kept gravitating back towards school. And I knew city council was not the thing for me, that would be something that Gerald could get involved in. And so I think that's why I did. I don't know about you, but
The first thing I was on here was CETA, which is the Economic Development Authority. I'd been here for 6 months or a year or something like that, and
I was encouraging him because
I'd gone.
He's
to some
not
of
a
their
hobby
stuff,
guy.
and so then I got appointed to that board, and then I ended up being chairman of the board, and so I was that for a good while, and or particularly in the early period until we got Jeff, and Jeff Sanford is our CEO there, and I'm glad to say that I hired him, and because I thought he was the right one for the job. But I went from there, and we were seeing some issues with regard to the city council at the time, and we had somewhat of a dysfunctional, I thought, city council. Not bad. I've seen a lot worse, but I thought it could be better, and so I ran. And
well,
that
people
was in-
approached you and asked you to run.
They did, and so I ran, and there were about 3 of us or so that all ran at the same time, and we all got elected. And then from that point on, I mean, the council became a lot more active and a lot more pro-growth and everything than it had been before. So that's why we have some of the things we have in this community right now.
Yeah.
It's because it's not that we wanted to spend the money. It was the fact that we looked for different ways to finance things rather than just a bond issue.
Yeah.
Because people around here don't like bond issues very much. And so we looked for different ways to do it. Tarleton was growing. We needed to meet the demand for housing. That's helped. We've approved a lot of apartment units and stuff like that in this community, and a lot of development there. But one of the reasons that I got into this stuff when I came back here, I just think you got to provide service. I mean, you got to do. It also keeps you a lot younger. Let me tell you.
It does.
It keeps you a lot younger because you're typically dealing now with people that are a few years younger than you are, you know, and some of them are 40, some of them are 50,
So
some
you have
of
to
them
know
are
how to
30.
do the right technology.
You've got to learn a little bit more about
You
technology.
can't just
You've
sit
gotta-
around and
Yeah, you've got to
live on
stay
your
ahead of
laurels,
stuff.
can you? So
Otherwise, you're just an old guy that just, you know, he don't know anything, you know. So, well, we've built up a significant knowledge base in our lives, you know, and to be able to use that and use it not for ourselves, but for the community that we live in and everything. And are we going to make all the right decisions or do the right thing? Probably not. But at least we're doing them.
one of the things, one of our philosophies that both of us really live by is that we're not caught up in getting credit for things. A lot of people want to get credit for things. They want their name on things. They want to get credit. We get our joy from
Seeing it done.
seeing something happen from what we did.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us,
Love it when a project comes together.
when something, you know,
You know.
and if somebody else goes in there and says, somehow gets their name on it, we really don't care. We just care that because we know, and that's all
It's all that counts.
that's all that counts is we know.
We've both been down the road that
Yeah.
where we had received the accolades and the plaques
Yeah.
and the stuff like that, and,
Yeah, we have.
and other jobs that we were in, and yeah, I mean, most of them were successful.
Yeah.
Well, they were all successful, as a matter of fact, and we don't need that. That part of the ego is just, you know, we
Yeah.
can push that aside and say, oh, you know, so and so ought to take credit for this. You know, so and so ought to do that. You ought to make the motion, not me.
You know?
You know, and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully, long term, and we talk about this on the council a lot, by the way, among ourselves, and that is, we want to leave it a lot better, not for next year, but 10 years down the road, or 15 years down the road, we're not going to be there.
Yeah.
We're not going to be here. And are we going to leave this a better community than we found it? And that's the goal of
That's
the
right.
community. That's
That's
Rita's goal, I think, of the school
Yeah.
system. And we've got a darn good school system here.
Yeah, we do.
And our city is getting to be, it's doing well. And people kind of have come together, you know, some in the community politically, whether it's council, whether it's county commission, whatnot, we're all getting there on the same page now, which is really positive.
It is.
We can celebrate Tarleton. I mean, we celebrate Tarleton. There's a few people don't, but we certainly celebrate Tarleton
We do.
because that is the economic driver right now.
It is.
We've got some good industries. We've added a few more. You know, we've added some new businesses. We've added new shopping centers and stuff. We're trying to improve the streets, which we're doing, and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's just part of building a community and everything. And it covers the whole gamut, don't you think?
It does.
So,
Well, when we talk about bringing it home in the kitchen and kind of the community of the family, right?
mhm.
Who did most of the cooking in the Cook household?
I did most of the cooking. He fixed breakfast for our kids usually in the morning, when they were going to school. You know, forced them to eat breakfast. But
Forced them to, oh, no, not
And
pancakes again.
when we first married, I really, you know, I had come from a dysfunctional family, so I really didn't know much about cooking except what I learned from my grandmother and from Gerald's mom. So, but they were both really good cooks, and so
Yeah.
learned a lot of different things from
Yeah,
them.
Rita's she's the cook.
What dishes became the favorites?
Well, you know, I make the standard chicken and dressing, chicken and dumplings. I make peach cobbler that they all like, and I make my grandmother's fried pies, which I have a recipe for that I put together. The hard thing is that a lot of
didn't use
things I
recipes.
cook, there's not like a recipe. I just know how to cook it, and so and it's kind of like there's not measurement like you would have in a scientific recipe. But the fried pies, I tried to put together a recipe. Chocolate chip cookies, I would say.
Special.
Broccoli and rice casserole. There's just a whole host of things that our kids expect at certain holidays. And Gerald, because he likes chicken and dressing so much, I make a ton of it at Thanksgiving. Our son can't eat turkey, so I make chicken and dressing. And he'll freeze it for the rest of the year. So
Tell me what's on the table at Thanksgiving.
you'll have chicken and dressing. You'll have mashed potatoes. You'll have candied sweet potatoes. You'll have broccoli and rice casserole. You'll have probably green beans,
Always.
and you'll have rolls, some sort of hard rolls. And then you will have
Desserts.
some desserts, different kinds of pies. Like I make a chocolate pie and
Rita makes a wonderful cheesecake.
caramel apple pie, cheesecake sometimes,
Yeah,
caramel apple pie. So things like that. I usually don't make my grandmother's fried pies except for like big family reunions or get-togethers. Sometimes I'll take them to church or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but the other things, yeah. So
Do you know which recipe you're going to share with us?
I do. It's my grandmother's fried pies.
Yeah.
I'm going to share that with you. So
That's
It
going
is.
to be interesting because the folks who are going to be making them are going to be working off of measurements that you're.
Uh-oh.
So,
Well, we'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
So tell me the story behind that recipe.
Well, when, you know, I told you, I left home at 17. So I went to live with my grandmother my senior year in high school. She let me come live with her. And so my grandmother was an old-timey cook. I mean, there wasn't anything that couldn't be fried. She fried everything. And so she'd make things like Frito chili pie. And she would make French fried potatoes. She would take onions and squash and peppers, and she'd put and potatoes, and she'd put flour in them, and then she'd fry them.
Almost made a batter.
Almost made a batter of them, and
fry
she
'em.
would make she'd make cookies that were those thick, kind of shortbread kind of cookies,
Yeah, she did.
and fried chicken, homemade biscuits. But she would make these fried pies because she knew Gerald loved these fried pies. I could probably do without fried pies. Gerald loved fried pies, and she loved to have some guy to cook for her. So she made those quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we put on a lot of pounds at my grandmother's table because she really liked to cook. And she lived to be about 88, and she would she'd buy Mellarine. She couldn't afford ice cream, Mellarine, and then she'd put Fritos on it. Or she'd take a biscuit and put a sausage patty on it and put real mayonnaise on it, and that's what she would eat. So we did grow up eating very healthy stuff.
Well, she lived to be 88 too.
She did.
She did
Pork.
pretty good.
Everything's pork in my family. So we had a lot of pork.
And when would she make the fried pies? Was it whenever Gerald was over, or
Oh,
Yeah.
holidays? Or
No,
No.
just all the time for
She made
him.
'em a
Oh
lot.
yeah, she liked to
Yeah.
cook, so
yeah,
she'd make them for him.
she did.
So,
She
and I'm
did.
trying to think of any other desserts. Mainly she made those, didn't she?
You pretty
Maybe
much covered it.
cobblers, maybe cobblers.
She did some cobbler occasionally
Yeah,
and everything
Sorry.
like that.
but yeah. Spam. We
Lots
had
of
spam growing up.
spam. Yeah.
And salmon patties.
Oh,
We had
she did
salmon patties
patty.
every week, and we had spam that was rolled in cornmeal and fried. We had that every week. So that was pretty much our menu,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Well, she made
Pretty
meatloaf.
much.
She'd make meatloaf and things like that.
She did. She did.
But yeah,
And did Gerald's family, did your family have any, or was all?
My mother made a banquet every meal.
she did,
Okay.
because she
I
lived
mean,
on a farm
literally,
and
she
people were
lived on-
working.
We lived on a farm, and she was always cooking, and we had, you know, at lunch we'd typically have a picnic out there out in the field
Yeah.
somewhere. Dinner, you know, if we had some people that were working with us and all that, they were all welcome to come. And again, I mean, you were talking about. We raised our own beef, and we raised our own pork and stuff like that. So we always
Chickens.
had meat. We always had, you know, our chickens. We always had meat. We'd butcher a beef, and I'll never forget going. The butcher would ask, well, you know, how you want. We go to the Zero Locker plant in Dublin, and he said, how do you want your steaks cooked? And Mom said, about like that. You know, about a quarter to a half
Yeah.
inch. And how do you want your ribeyes? About a quarter to a half inch. But that's because my dad always liked them all fried. So you batter
You dip them in batter and fry
dip them
'em.
in batter, and you fried them. We never, ever had a steak cooked on the grill in my life that I ever recall that. And we always had gravy and biscuits and
Except his mother would make canned biscuits,
she thought that was wonderful.
because that was an extravagant thing to have canned biscuits.
You go buy them, 10 cans for $1.
And she could never make biscuits or toast that they weren't burned.
That's right, she did, because she cooked
You
everything
scraped
fast.
your toast always.
I
So
mean,
everything else,
it was
she
the
was a
normal
wonderful
thing.
cook,
You scrape your toast, you
But
know.
because she was always in a hurry, because she worked in the fields too, so she would come back and
Yeah.
do all that. So
But she would cook a lot. I mean, you'd end up having meat on the table and biscuits and gravy and corn and
at least 2 or 3
beans
side
and
dishes, because she had a
potatoes and I mean, it was just
garden. Yeah, everything. was-
all the time, every time. And that's just the way she cooked.
When-
She cooked for a big family,
Yeah.
although our family there were four of us.
But you always had people there, and
We always had people there.
I can remember when Gerald and I were first going together, I went out there to eat at his house, and I was like, we sat down to the table, and I put some butter on my thing, and I said, this isn't butter, because it was real butter, and I had never had real butter. And then they put this bacon down, and I was like, ugh, this isn't real bacon. You know, I just had not grown up.
Well, we had our own cows, so we had milk cows, and we made our own butter, and you know,
Yeah, you did all that.
What transferred, what ended up on the Thanksgiving table that came from the cook's side, and what came from your side that ended up being?
not very much.
Nothing from my side, because we didn't actually do that, but from his side,
Most of it
most of it.
Most of it.
for the
No,
Thanksgiving
the broth
table.
and rice casserole we
That
added.
was Rita's.
We added, and I added salads occasionally. Gerald's mother thought salad was a little bit of lettuce and a lot of mayonnaise. She just didn't know.
Miracle Whip,
Miracle Whip. It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't
It wasn't mayonnaise,
It was
it's
Miracle,
Miracle
Whip.
Whip.
Yeah, so.
because
yeah.
Miracle Whip was the only kind we would buy. So
But we did teach them to make broccoli and rice casserole, and that became
you
a
did, and
staple.
that became a staple, and for the family.
It did.
you know,
One
for
year I mistakenly
special
put
meals.
marshmallows on top of the sweet potatoes, and that was a disaster. But
Yeah, that was.
Are you ocean spray candied cranberries or fresh cranberry sauce?
We typically did the ocean spray stuff.
yeah, we did.
Yeah. we
Well,
did.
neither one of us are really cranberry.
I'm not a cranberry person, but it was always sliced and, you know, round.
And Gerald's mother never really got to sit at the table because she was constantly
Serving people.
serving people.
Yeah, that's
We'd
right.
stick her in a corner where she couldn't get out. That's about the only way we
Yeah.
could stop her.
Yeah.
And we had to do that occasionally too.
We've talked about this a lot already, but remind us about, like, right now, what makes Erath County special to you?
Oh,
Well, I think it's the people.
yeah, it is. It's the
They
people.
are really good people here.
We are so blessed. We've lived a lot of places.
Yeah, we have.
And the culture of the people is different in each one of those places. Literally, they really are different. And it's just so much different in Kansas than it was here.
Yeah.
In Texas, it's different in Kentucky than it is here. Although it's a little closer to here, but I mean, it's
But
the way
I think
people
even though you wouldn't think so, people here are more accepting
Yeah,
of outsiders and people moving in
yeah.
than they are in Kansas and Kentucky. And you wouldn't think that because
Well, in Kentucky, they're very
people think
parochial.
Stephenville is a closed thing, but really and truly, after living other places,
It's not.
it's not. It's really not.
Yeah.
So,
Well, in Kentucky, you were an outsider if you were across the county line.
yeah.
What's the biggest change you've seen here in Stephenville or in the county itself?
Well, it's just the Tarleton. I
Tarleton.
think it's Tarleton.
Tarleton and the number of people here.
Yeah.
You know, the population here has,
We can go out and eat and not know anyone.
yeah. The
And before that wasn't possible.
You know, the population of the county now is what? 45, 50,000
Yeah.
for the county-wide? 40,000? Isn't that about right?
Yeah, and it's almost like Dublin
Something
and
like that.
Stephenville are
It's almost,
joined.
and,
you know, it's
and
almost.
when we were here before, it was like maybe 15,000, 18,000. There's just a lot more population out here now. Dublin is pretty much like it was before, I would think. I mean, size-wise, it's a little bit bigger, actually.
I will say,
But they're
that-
really doing some stuff over there that's pretty good now, too.
we see changes in that minorities are, they're just more of the general population that nobody thinks anything.
Fully integrated.
More fully integrated than when we were here before. Nobody thinks as much about it anymore. There's more married couples of different backgrounds than when we were here before. And part of that is I just think the younger generations are more accepting of that.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it's
and-
just, people are people,
So,
you know?
Sure.
it's different, I think.
And I think that's a little different. And all, but, and it's the, you know, but it is, like Rita said, it's the people. The people are,
Yeah,
it's a good place.
it is a good place.
What advice would you give to young couples who want to build their family here or come back after, like you did?
Well, I would tell them to get involved in things. If they have kids in schools, to get involved with their activities of their kids in school, because that's how they're going to meet people. In order to, and we've seen this everywhere we've gone to, that you have to make the first effort.
Move.
People are not going to move towards you. You have to move towards them. If you have a church, get involved in a church and volunteer.
No matter what kind.
If you're not a church person, there's just all kinds of clubs and organizations
And most of them are begging for people.
to be
mean-
a part.
We talked about Rotary and Lions, and they used to have 100, 150
Yeah.
people go to those things every week. Now you'd be lucky to have 10 or 12 or 15.
But just social media, the
Yeah.
things social media has opened up, like let's say you don't want to do clubs, you don't want to do community service, but you want to go to exercise class. There's just lots of
You
ways
also meet people there.
to meet other people, and truly young families generally their lives revolve around where their children are in school.
Right.
And
So
what
that's-
activities, their kids are
Yeah.
doing. Whether they're in soccer or they're
Yeah.
in baseball
They do.
or in basketball or whatnot, their lives, just like ours did, they revolve around, and the people that you meet there, they're the other kids' parents and stuff like
But you
that.
can certainly open yourselves up by going to other things, but that's a good way to get started.
It is a good way to get started. Be very open to that things
Yeah.
and everything, and you know, it's not all about you personally. It's what are you bringing to the table,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
What are you willing to do? And it doesn't have to be money. I mean, it's just who's volunteering, you know?
Yeah.
Because you need that. You need a lot of volunteers.
Yeah.
And not just to serve on official capacity, but that's always good
Yeah.
too. Gosh, you wouldn't believe how difficult sometimes it is to get just board members
Yeah.
for some of the organizations that the city sponsors. You know, whether it's Parks and Recreation or library or
But
whatnot.
we've met a lot of
It's
people
difficult.
just through like going to all the Tarleton basketball games.
Oh,
You'll
yeah.
see the same people there. So after a while,
After a while, you know, you're,
there's camaraderie.
Yeah.
So yeah, those kinds
and all of a
things.
sudden you've built friends and
Yeah.
whatnot. Tarleton has been a great player in that. And they probably don't realize it, but even in that format and everything like that, we go to all the basketball games and the football games and did all the volleyball games and all that kind of stuff. And you go in and, good gosh,
Well,
there were couples that
Yeah.
you know, younger and older than us and whatnot that would you get to know and you know find out. Well, we're from Bluffdale, or we're from Morgan Mill, or we're from
Yeah.
Dublin, or we're from here, you know, or we're from across the street. A couple that were over there that they love to go, and it's just that's what it is like.
Yeah. You just have to make the first steps.
Yeah, and you know, just there's a lot of things that you can do and should be able to do, and there are a lot of jobs available in this community. There's jobs available for younger, for kids,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. You just have to look for them. We had an acquaintance who lives here in this area, and their son decided, he said, you know, I think I can make some money. He was in high school. I think I'd make some money detailing cars. So he got him a power washer and a vacuum cleaner. And I think he borrowed his vacuum cleaner from his dad. But anyway, got him that. And all of a sudden, he was making money like crazy. You know, people coming in, and he was detailing their cars.
All the neighbors
and
were having
making
him
$60,
detail.
$70, $80 a pop.
Yeah.
You know, what a great deal for a high school kid
Yeah.
to do it. And you know, he was doing his own business.
Yeah.
We had a kid that came over to somebody else had recommended give him a call. I did, and I needed some stuff done around the house, you know, outside, you know, trimming and stuff and everything. He was a high schooler, senior in high school, and he had 2 or 3 buddies with him, and he gave me his card.
Yeah, he did. He had a business
He had
card.
yeah. He had already done a business card and all that kind of, which is fantastic.
FFA student.
He's
He had a
an
business
FFA.
plan he shared
He
with
had a
us.
business plan he shared with us.
So, yeah.
FFA student, believed in working. Get out there and do it. There are opportunities. You just have to look for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But they really are there, and everything, and there's plenty of room here for that. There's always services. There's always things like that that people will pay for, and to do. I'm looking for somebody to do gutters right now.
What do you all hope that people remember about you?
Oh.
The one thing that I always told my kids is you treat everybody with kindness and be good to everyone.
That's all.
And I hope that people feel like that's the way we were in everything that we did.
I don't want, you know, Rita and I were talking about a very similar question on this. And I said, you know, I'm not interested in a monument. You know,
Well, I might take a monument. No, just kidding.
I know what we have been involved in and what we've done and whether you feel successful in doing it, and what you've done in the past, and it's all inside, and I understand that, and I see that. What I do really think that you really have to, you'd like to be remembered for is the fact that you, you know, you were kind and you were nice to everybody,
And
no
that
matter
you
what
showed
walk
up.
of life. That you showed up.
You know,
Because a lot of people don't show up.
Gerald's mother was a very smart woman. She did not get to go to college because her dad took her home and she didn't get to go to college, but she was always a very smart person. And when she passed away and we went to her funeral, this woman who worked on a farm, raised kids, whatever, was active in her church. The whole funeral home was completely full and people drove from miles around to come, family members from far away. If that's not a monument, then I don't know what is.
That's true.
That's what I thought at the time.
Yeah, that's really true. It's how you've affected other people's lives.
Yeah.
And
It really is.
And how they view you, and everything like that. You know, and that's the only thing that's really important. Somebody said, who was it? Be afraid to leave this world until you've done something good for mankind.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's a great way to end it.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Rita and Gerald. I really appreciate you taking the time to
Thank you
share
for
your
asking
life
us.
and to
Well,
talk
thank
about your
you.
time here in Erath County.
We have enjoyed all of it
Yeah.
since we've been back and before we left and all that. Every place we've been, it's been a real learning experience.
And we've liked everywhere we've been
Yeah, we have.
Fantastic.
For different
So-
reasons,
for different reasons.
you know.
So,
It's just been, it's been good. It really has. We enjoy it now. And we're trying to, well, gosh. Sometimes I feel like we're at we are slaves to our calendar
yeah, we are.
at times.
We are.
But you appreciate those days that maybe you don't have anything. And then Rita, if there are 2 days in a row, she's just about going to go crazy. And then I'll start getting really antsy because I got to do something. I gotta
Yeah.
do something.
So, yeah. So that's just the way
I'm
we are.
wasting a day.
That's
here.
right. That's the way we are.
You don't
Can't
have that
waste
many
time.
days left.
That's
so,
right. You don't have time
know,
to waste.
You know, you're wasting time.
So,
So,
anyway, thank you. Thank you for asking.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
Yeah.